Article I Section 30. Henry County. No hereditary privileges. Resting at the northeastern corner of West Tennessee, southwest of the land between the lakes and bordered by Kentucky on the north lies Henry County. The area was named after Patrick Henry the Virginian, orator of colonial and early American politics. The county was founded in 1821, and like most West Tennessee counties, agriculture brought with it the customs and traditions associated with King cotton and plantation life. This mainly rural county, not that most other counties in Tennessee weren't, drew planters from all over the South who were interested in commerce through agriculture. By the years just preceding the Civil War, cotton production had been transformed into a science where one could estimate a planter's yield of cotton by the number of slaves tending his fields. Patrick Henry was no stranger to the slave trade, whereas though he is reported to have not been totally for the institution, he apparently wasn't fully against it either. His first few slaves were a wedding present from his first wife, and there is no telling the extent of his rise to 67 slaves at his death. But was it pride that makes some feel better about themselves for having another subordinate to them? Maybe we would know how it feels were we to have the greed or maliciousness of the almighty slave master. Sure, in theory what belonged to my father now belongs to me, but what of the second sons and the cousins twice removed? The urge to do right encourages our compliance with heredity, the need to be good causes greater men to breed their like in kind, and Paris was its city of prosperity or lack thereof for those blacks who were both right and good.
There is an almost inevitable consequence of time, which is prosperity, and prosperity compounded in on itself eventually and soon may be too uncomfortable for the common man's tranquility. We are not sure if it is the system or the cooperation therefrom which ensures this unscapably accelerated growth, but it can be as scary for one who cooperates with the system as it is for the one who implements it. If a couple has 3 children, they have 3 with others and those 9 have 3. One man could have 3 plus 9 plus 27 equals 39 biological subjects where it may be better to quell a rebellion before it starts. So, to limit and suppress thoughts of biological monopolies in this fragile republic, new confederacy, young state, and agricultural county, greater men had to camouflage their positions, however ineffectively. The problem is systematic growth, and the solution is the same as we are forced to replay the myth of Sisyphus, saving money to reinvest in expensive equipment. Sure, it works better and cuts down production time, but until it makes the money that was spent on it, one has to start from the bottom, pushing boulders up an economic mountain again. Well, after a few generations of a family's inheritance being left to the oldest male heir, one may see following the heir more beneficial than observing the law. It is just a matter of fact that we as humans are more receptive to those who cater to our positions. We love the reinforcement of truth, especially when we are right, and what else proves one's rightness other than physics?
Having won the title in 1860, Henry Arthur Moss lived in Henry County as the decision was made to secede from the nation to join the Confederacy. A carpenter by trade and cotton picker during harvest season, he was a scholar, a gentleman, a slave, and greater man. Him picking cotton faster than others earned him the privilege of freely addressing subordinates. Where his rhetoric changed to the tune of the audience he addressed effectively, he was just as so physically while prize fighting. Being a greater man, King Arthur, as they called him, had the same fundamental purpose as all others under the Grand Consistory of Royal Assemblies of the state of Tennessee, which was the promotion of the English language. So, when King Arthur wasn't picking cotton, working with wood, or preparing for his next fight, he taught English and French literature for the Royal Academy of the Americas, Scott County, Tennessee. French was his mother's first language, while English was his father's, so he learned to speak to both parents in their first tongues. However, it wasn't until after he learned to read, write, and acknowledged his position as a greater man that he increased his interests in French literature. He would write and publish over 5 books in French after the war, and though he loved English, he felt that not only race, but even more so biology would ultimately prove to distinguish one from another.
A city of prosperity or lack thereof, Paris was the seat of the county, and for those blacks who were both right and good. The cotton industry kept most occupied for the most part during planting and harvesting seasons, but education was on a much more individual level for blacks as per King Arthur's orders. As with the cotton culture came an extreme opposition to the education of its unwilling workforce, but the Royal Assembly's insistence on the promotion of the English language didn't come without its obstacles. In the backwoods places could be found to study, but what many thought was the purpose of slaves who knew how to read and write, if it was to no end. Well, King Arthur was a well-spoken orator who could form an argument on either side and support that position convincingly enough to sway any jury. He attributed that to literacy, which strengthened others to follow him and other greater men.
The urge to do right encourages our compliance with heredity. The need to be good causes greater men to breed their like in kind, and Paris was its city of prosperity or lack thereof for those blacks who were both right and good. We all, no matter how much we deny our hubris in an attempt to remain humble, need that feeling of being right, whereas falling in line with our biological hierarchy is the first priority. As individuals, we also want to be good, which is different from being right in that we are right for others but good mainly for ourselves, so the reward of condoned breeding fell with greater men. Paris, Tennessee was King Arthur's home, where him and other greater men lived right and good. That concludes this course's figure study for the fall 2022 semester. After questions, we will have the final exam, and papers are due before departure. It has been a great semester. We will see you next semester.